Here are the top stories for today, April 14, 2020. The national government releases 132 billion pesos to fund efforts to stop the spread of COVID-19. President Dutertes says the National ID system could have prevented issues in the distribution of cash and food subsidies for low-income families. Pampanga joins a nationwide tribute to those in the forefront of the fight against COVID-19. And the Department of Health announces the start of COVID-19 mass testing. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The national government has released 132 billion pesos to fund the country's response efforts against the COVID-19 pandemic. According to President Rodrigo Duterte's third weekly report submitted to Congress, the funds were sourced from the pooled savings from the discontinued government programs, projects, and activities. The allotments and cash allocations were released to the Department of Social Welfare and Development at 100 billion pesos for its social amelioration program, while the Department of Labor and Employment received 1.5 billion pesos for displaced workers. Around 30.82 billion has been allotted for cities and municipalities funding assistance. Meanwhile, the executive branch has responded positively to the recommendation of Senator Christopher Lawrence Bongo to give the provincial local government units a one-time Bayanihan financial assistance, which is equivalent to 50% of their respective one-month internal revenue allotment. Go said the Bayanihan financial assistance, even if it is just one time, will further enable provincial local government units to respond more effectively to the increasing needs of their constituents. This will also provide support to the national government in implementing measures. Go earlier said the PLGUs ensure the readiness of provincial hospitals to handle the COVID-19 health emergency since they are in charge of funding, sustaining, and enhancing the operations of these local health facilities. President Duterte said he could not blame Filipino nurses and other health workers for wanting to work abroad following an increased global demand due to the COVID-19 health crisis. He, however, expressed concern that the country might run out of medical professionals to treat local COVID-19 patients. President Duterte said Monday he cannot blame Filipino nurses if they want to work abroad, even if the country is in a state of public health emergency due to the coronavirus disease. His comment comes after the lifting of a temporary ban on the deployment of healthcare workers with existing contracts abroad. Duterte claimed that America is part of the problem of the Filipinos now because it has eased its entry requirements for foreign healthcare workers so they could be lured into working there. The U.S. currently has a high number of confirmed COVID-19 cases and fatalities. He also expressed concern that the country may face a shortage of nurses since the Philippines cannot afford to pay healthcare professionals at par with their wages overseas. Earlier, presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases has recommended the lifting of the temporary deployment ban on Filipino health workers with existing contracts abroad. He said the resolution is subject to Duterte's approval, but foregone conclusion since he has never disapproved of any recommendation made by the IATF. Earlier this month, the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration, or POEA, issued Resolution Number 09 temporarily suspending the deployment of all healthcare workers until the national state of emergency is lifted until COVID-19 related travel restrictions are lifted at the destination countries.
Nanawagan sila, basta yung nurse, mga nurse, sige, punta kayo sa embassy, i-process nila ang visa. One day, kinabukasan, lipad ka na. Kami naman dito nakakabuhan kasi wala kaming pangbigay kasing laki. So ang mga nurse natin, naintindihan ko yan Self-preservation yan. So, kailangan magtrabaho sila. May trabaho ngayon sa Amerika. Di pupuntahan sila. Hindi ko sinisisi. Hindi ako galit. Wala akong emotions actually about this. But kung gusto ninyong kayong mga nurse na Pilipino, gusto niyo magsilbi sa ibang bayan, sa ibang tao, okay lang sa akin.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development is resolving issues concerning the distribution of the Social Amelioration Program, and the country's justice system has measures in place to ensure humanitarian treatment for old and sickly persons deprived of liberty. More on these from Chris Mundo.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development is resolving issues concerning the distribution of the Social Amelioration Program for the most vulnerable sectors to ease the impact of coronavirus disease 2019 pandemic. Cabinet Secretary IATF EID spokesperson Carlo Nograles made this assurance following reports that some low-income households have yet to receive emergency cash subsidies from the government. Nograles warned local officials against defying the guidelines for the distribution of emergency relief assistance to 18 million poor families, including those who failed to give cash aid to non-registered voters. He said local government officials who gave cash aid to ineligible families will also face criminal, civil, and administrative charges. Meanwhile, the Land Bank of the Philippines on Monday said it will implement additional measures to strictly enforce social distancing, as its branches continue to release the 8,000 peso cash assistance to PUV drivers in NCR. After the Holy Week, an unusually large volume of drivers rushed to Land Bank branches to claim their cash grants, which is part of the Social Amelioration Program of the national government. Land Bank said it is strictly observing social distancing inside and within the premises of its branches nationwide and has already coordinated with the LTFRB, concerned local government units, and the Philippine National Police for assistance in crowd management. In other news, the Department of Justice on Monday said measures are in place to ensure humanitarian treatment for old and sickly persons deprived of liberty. This following a petition filed by seeking the grant of temporary liberty to old and infirm PDLS in light of the COVID-19 crisis. Prison officials earlier said any release of PDLS must be based on existing laws, as they assured strict implementation of health and safety standards in the country's jails. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Mundo.
Still to come, President Dutertes says the National ID system could have prevented issues in the distribution of cash and food subsidies for low-income families. Pampanga joins a nationwide tribute to those in the forefront of the fight against COVID-19. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Sa matinding laban natin sa coronavirus disease 2019, sugpuin din natin ang pagkalat ng fake news. Huwag magbahagi ng impormasyon na hindi tiyak ang pinagmulan. I-check mabuti ang source ng balita. Kumuha lamang ng impormasyon mula sa mga official channel ng Department of Health. Huwag magpadala sa maling balita, basta't sama-sama at laging handa. Kaya natin to. Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito. Tandaan ang tamang paraan ng paghuhugas at paglilinis ng kamay upang makaiwas sa iba't ibang karamdaman. Basain ng tubig ang mga kamay at sabunin. Unang sabunin ang mga palad at ang likod ng mga kamay. Kuskusin na maigi ang pagitan ng mga daliri at maging ang mga kuko. Isunod ang pagitan ng mga hinlalaki at kuskusin ng paikot ang mga dulo ng mga daliri sa magkabilang palad. Banlawang mabuti ang mga kamay sa malinis na tubig at patuyuin ang mga kamay gamit ang single-use towel o air dryer. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. President Duterte on Monday said the implementation of the National Identification System could have prevented issues in the distribution of cash and food subsidies for low-income families. In a meeting with members of the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases, Duterte lamented how the national ID system could not be fully implemented because of opposition from left-leaning groups. Duterte said that with a national ID system in place, the government could have avoided problems with a list of cash and food aid beneficiaries, as it would have been easier to ask the DILG to identify how many people lived in a certain barangay. The government started pilot testing the national ID system last year, which originally was set up to June this year before formally rolling out the project in July next year. However, pilot testing was stopped due to the quarantine measures in place.
Noon pa, sinabi namin yung national ID makatulong. Ang problema dito, ang proponent na ayaw o the proponents of the don't, itong mga left. Kaya kita mo ngayon, wala tayong ID system until now. All we have to do, ang kailangan lang namin, tanungin namin yung DILG, ilang tao yung barangay na yan, then ipadala namin yung pagkain at kunin na lang ninyo doon sa tindahan ninyo or the disposal point, wherever it is, ipakita mo yung card mo, ibigay sa iyo.
Meanwhile, President Duterte also vowed to ensure that no Filipino would die of hunger. He also urged local officials, particularly mayors and barangay captains, to ensure that government assistance would be given to all beneficiaries.
Gusto ko lahat mabigyan. Ayaw kong may mamatay na isang Pilipino na gutom. That is your duty. Inyong duty yan and the mayors to determine sino yung hindi nasali sa listahan at mabigyan kaagad.
Malacanang on Monday dismissed a petition filed by a lawyer asking the Supreme Court to compel President Rodrigo Duterte to make public his medical records amid concerns over his handling of the COVID-19 crisis. Outgoing presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said the petition, which claimed that Duterte looked physically unwell in his recent public addresses, aired over state-run PTV4, is based purely on speculations. Panelo said the public shall be informed of the state of the president's health only if he has a serious illness. However, he emphasized that such was not the case. In a Facebook post on Monday evening, lawyer Dino De Leon said he filed an extremely urgent petition for mandamus asking the High Court to direct Duterte to disclose his medical records, undergo confirmatory tests, and release these test results. Last April 2nd, Panelo denied rumors that Duterte was confined at Cardinal Santos Medical Center in San Juan City. To ensure health and environmental safety amid the COVID-19 pandemic, local government units were asked to ramp up their efforts in handling and disposal of healthcare waste. Cabinet Secretary and Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases spokesperson Carlo Nograles urged LGUs to observe existing protocol under the infection control of healthcare facilities. As part of the protocol, he said, all healthcare waste is pre-treated with chemical disinfectants such as sodium hypochlorite or bleach. Nograles said the Department of Health must also disseminate information regarding the need to pre-treat waste like used personal protective equipment, gears for patients under investigation, or COVID-19 patients under home quarantine. Last Sunday, Nograles said the IATF will be weighing the pros and cons of spraying or misting of disinfectants to reduce the transmission of COVID-19. The DOH in a statement said there is no evidence to support that spraying of surfaces or large-scale misting of indoor or outdoor areas kills the virus. Pampanga and Bataan joined a nationwide tribute and fundraising event for health workers and other frontliners in the fight against COVID-19. More on this and other news from the provinces from Romdulfo.
Some 200 healthcare workers from the Diosdado P. Macapagal Memorial Hospital on Sunday joined We Light as One, a fundraising event to boost the morale of essential workers who are in the battlefront against COVID-19. To honor the bravery and contribution of healthcare workers, one of the 150 lights and sounds groups in Pampanga coordinated with DPMMH to stage the fundraiser, which was also simultaneously staged in various parts of the country. Medical workers gathered to perform their very own mob dance version of the fight song by Rachel Patton. In Bataan, a one-hour light show was held in the giant War Memorial Cross at the Mount Samat Shrine to pay tribute to frontliners in the war against COVID-19. The event, dubbed as Salute of Lights for Frontliners, We Light as One, We Heal as One, was spearheaded by Mount Samat Flagship Tourism Enterprise Zone and the Philippine Veterans Affairs Office in coordination with OGV Lights and Sounds. Governor Albert Garcia said the light show was aimed at convincing every Filipino to cooperate in solving the health crisis affecting the world and to show appreciation to the frontliners. In Cebu City, all 800 residents in Sitio Zapatera, Barangay Luz, will receive rice assistance from the city government while the area is placed under mandatory lockdown. Mayor Edgardo Labella said the city has decided to provide rice for at least the next 8 to 10 days. Cebu City Hall decided to order the lockdown in Sitio Zapatera after discovering 2 more positive COVID-19 cases in the area on Black Saturday, April 11, in addition to the 1 confirmed case last April 8 who is still in the hospital. The city, which is still under enhanced community quarantine, still has the highest number of deaths with 5 out of 8 in Central Visayas. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfa.
In our business news, consumer advocacy group Laban Consumer Incorporated has called on consumers not to stockpile medicines and vitamins amid the COVID-19 pandemic. In a statement Monday, LKI President Victorio Mario Dimagiba said some consumers are stockpiling medicines and vitamins beyond their needs that may create artificial shortage of these drugs. Dimagibas added the stockpiling of these drugs may affect consumers who are in need of medication. Moreover, LKI reminded Filipinos that cheaper medicines are underway for consumers as President Rodrigo Duterte recently signed Executive Order number 104 slashing retail prices of some medicines to up to 50%. These include medications for hypertension, diabetes, cancer, asthma, and analgesics, among others. President Duterte signed the executive order to provide access to cheaper medicines amid the COVID-19 crisis. Up next, the Department of Health announces the start of COVID-19 mass testing. And the PBA vows to help basketball star Nelson Asaitono, who had suffered from a heart attack. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito. Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, Takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The government is moving a step closer to reaching its target of conducting 3,000 diagnostic tests for the 2019 coronavirus disease per day. In a virtual presser on Monday, Cabinet Secretary and Interagency Task Force for Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases spokesperson Carlo Nograles said there are now 15 testing centers in the country. There are additional 28 institutions undergoing laboratory certification process, while 37 more have expressed their intention to be certified as testing centers. Nograles said the government hopes to double the testing target until it is capable of conducting 8,000 tests per day before the end of the month. He said over 33,000 individuals have been tested for COVID-19 as of Sunday, April 11. Targeted mass testing is starting on Tuesday, April 14. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres said priorities for testing include those seriously ill and essential frontline personnel, among others. The number is expected to increase after targeted mass testing kicks off. Vergeres urged the public to continue physical and social distancing and frequent washing of hands, which have been proven effective in curbing the spread of COVID-19 in other countries. She said it would take about 6 to 12 months or a year and a half before any deployable vaccine is developed. The Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases has recommended the lifting of the temporary deployment ban on Filipino doctors, nurses, and other health workers with existing contracts abroad. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said this was bared during the meeting with members of the IATF EID on Monday. He said the resolution is subject to Dutertes' approval. Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr., labor groups and health workers earlier opposed a temporary overseas deployment ban, saying it violates the right to travel and promotes involuntary servitude. During this month, the Philippine Overseas Employment Agency issued Resolution Number 09, temporarily suspending the deployment of all healthcare workers until the national state of emergency is lifted, until COVID-19 related travel restrictions are lifted at the destination countries. The order was issued to ensure that the country has enough health workers amid the public health emergency. In sports, professional karter Jomar Ang succumbed to a reported serious injury that happened last January. His parents, San Miguel Corporation President Ramon Ang and wife Tessie, confirmed the news on Monday. Jomar Ang, the chief financial officer of RSA Motors, delved into the motorsport scene through karting along with brother Jacob. The siblings ruled the Formula 125 Seniors Open and X30 SR divisions of the Asian Karting Championship. Ramon and Tessie Ang opted to go away with a regular funeral in favor of a private service to celebrate his life on Easter Sunday. Meanwhile, the Philippine Basketball Association will be extending its help to former star Nelson Acaytono, who suffered a heart attack last week. PBA Commissioner Willie Marshall said that even Acaytono's fellow legends will also do their part in giving Acaytono financial aid. The 53-year-old Acaytono suffered a heart attack while playing basketball in General Trias with Vice Mayor Maurito Sison and NLEX Assistant Vice President Ronald Dulatre last week. The 6'4" forward was the second overall pick of the 1989 draft. Acaytono played for 17 seasons, winning 7 championships and making the All-Star game 10 times. He is ranked 5th in the league's all-time scoring list. The military says the series of surrenderers of members of the Communist New People's Army in the Caraga region means that the group is continuously weakening, especially in far-flung areas. Brigadier General Maurito Licudin, the commander of 402nd Infantry Brigade, reported that 10 NPA combatants operating in the region have surrendered to authorities during Holy Week. Among them include alias Jack, the squad leader of Sandatahang Unit Pampropaganda, who surrendered last April 6. On April 8, Jack facilitated the surrender of alias Brando, the leader of Team Abe Squad Uno, and on April 9, the surrender of alias Wendel, the political instructor of Sipsikop. Meanwhile, on April 7, 4 female members of the NPA voluntarily surrendered to the 23rd Infantry Battalion in Agusan del Norte. Last week, 2 NPA members also voluntarily surrendered in Tago, Surigao del Sur. Licudin said that as of January 20, a total of 48 NPA members already surrendered to authorities in the area. And here's another look at today's biggest stories. The national government releases 132 billion pesos to fund efforts to stop the spread of COVID-19. President Dutertes says the National ID system could have prevented issues in the distribution of cash and food subsidies for low-income families. Pampanga joins a nationwide tribute to those in the forefront of the fight against COVID-19. And the Department of Health announces the start of COVID-19 mass testing. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check out more news content, check our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I am William Theo. Good day.